And good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. So today we're going to go through some interesting topics around how Google is really operating in the contact center space, really focused on in the government solution side as well. So I'm going to go through about 5 minutes of just kind of the macro landscape and where TTEC is enabling some of these technologies from Google in the contact center space. And then I'll hand it over to Tony, who's really going to go through the bulk of this. He'll do a very formal introduction here in a few minutes. But the important thing is Tony's one of the AI specialists from Google. He's definitely the expert on this technology. And so as you have questions, please do feel free to chat those in. We'll keep an eye on that and we can definitely answer them during the presentation or at the end, whatever makes the most sense. So for those of you that may not be familiar with TTEC, just very quickly, we focus on the customer experience and the citizen experience space in the market. We've been doing this for over 40 years. We serve both our clients from a BPO standpoint, providing them frontline associates to handle all of those constituent and citizen concerns and questions and conversations. But we also have a practice where we go in and enable all of those technologies that go across that entire journey, whether you're starting at the contact center side or you're going through from the CRM and managing the data into the analytics. And then especially with the emergence of AI in this space, we have dedicated practices around that. So from the actual place where we operate on a daily basis, we really do partner with our customers to help them establish their omnichannel foundation at the end of the day. And we look at that as it goes across the entire landscape of that technology stack. And we help enable the Google technologies that they've invested in significantly over the last several years to really enable some of these emerging features and functionalities. Things like the virtual agent or digital worker, really bringing more intelligence into the agent experience. And then on the data side of things, as you start getting into all of those, the record management, the CRM side of things, we spend a lot of time really kind of connecting the dots to make that very personalized experience. And what we've seen over the last several years, even coming out of COVID, that the consumer behavior has changed dramatically. People are much more comfortable operating on the digital channel side. They want you to know who they are, and they really want information to be brought forward to them to their fingertips. And so all of those things are where we operate on a daily basis, and we leverage the Google tech stack to really make that happen. So just to look at it from a macro standpoint real quick, and I'll pull up these numbers because I think there's a very important kind of data point that we want to touch on here. Right now, the labor market in general has become very challenging, and not just in the US, but it's really kind of a global phenomena as we're going through kind of very unique economic times. And what we're seeing is that many agencies, customers are really looking for unique ways to either address skills shortages or simply labor shortages, or also be able to enhance the staff and the employees that they have to be able to provide that dynamic end consumer experience. And so while it's we're seeing a challenge in the US where technology is changing, AI is emerging to help fill that gap, it truly is kind of a worldwide initiative that's happening across the board where everyone is looking for ways that they can enhance and invest to be able to make some of these changes, but also to be able to control some of the underlying costs to serve and to be able to provide a better end user experience at the end of the day. So we know this is an interesting kind of challenging time. We kind of look at the overall customer experience, consumer experience tech stack, right? Traditionally, we've had the CCAS or that contact center as a platform that's been available, whether it's on the premise or some of you may have moved to cloud at this point, that's really enabling these different communication channels across voice, and then the new emerging digital channels that are available, even getting into social at times. And then the other side of things, we know data has always been a key part of this. And as we want to be able to drive that more personalized experience, it's really being able to connect those systems together, right? Being able to make sure that as the citizen, the constituent, they're coming into the contact center, that they can be able to get to some of this back office type data that traditionally maybe they didn't have access to, and be able to provide that self-service type of experience. And really, when you look at the middle, this is where even in the last few months, as I'm sure everyone is very aware of all of the different emerging technologies from the AI side that's happened, and Tony's going to definitely spend some time getting into that with the generative AI concepts. But all of these new capabilities that are becoming available to really be able to drive more automation, more self-service, and that better end user experience at the end of the day. Going across using AI for things like routing, we touched on self-service, even getting into where we're enabling employees to have access to more information at their fingertips so that we can get them up to speed faster, that they can be able to resolve those conversations quicker and more accurately, and also so that you have a better view into the voice of the consumer at the end of the day, that you know what they're talking about and how we can use that information to further drive more optimization and really optimize that cost to serve. And lastly here, I think this is just an important point as you look across the entire kind of citizen journey of where Google has really started to emerge as a leader in this space. So Google Contact Center AI has been on the market for several years, been widely accepted as kind of the leader when it gets into things like dialogue flow, speech to text, text to speech, being able to drive that natural language IVR. And at the front end of that journey, kind of looking at that virtual agent, being able to provide a very consistent experience, whether you're coming across through voice or through some of these digital channels. And leveraging that CCAI functionality and technology to be able to do that at scale, and sometimes even in a multilingual type of experience. But what's new, and what Tony's going to spend a little bit of time on, is talking about Google CCAI Platform, which is Google's new contact center as a service offering that's available, which is a true end-to-end platform. So no longer is this just AI sitting on top of a legacy system, whether that was premise or in the cloud, but now it's an end-to-end experience with Google, to where they have native integrations into those AI tools, as well as the ability to drive more automation and a better agent experience as you think about things like driving context in conversations. As people switch channels, they go from chat to voice or even into SMS, being able to maintain that context so that the agents really do understand what's happening and they can help process those interactions faster. And then also with CCAI Insights down there in the bottom right, we think about the ability to really analyze all of these conversations. And with the emergence of CCAI Platform, now we're able to really centralize all of this data, the virtual agent data, the actual conversations that are happening in the contact center, as well as the operational data that typically comes out of the contact center, to really build this 360-degree view of those interactions, of those consumers, and be able to leverage that data going forward to really make better decisions and kind of optimize the experience. So with all that being said, Tony, I'm going to hand this off to you and let you run with it for a few minutes. And if you have questions, everyone, please feel free to put those in the chat.
Thank you.
Let me stop sharing here.
Okay. And I'll just start sharing now, and everyone should be able to see my screen in a moment. Okay.
Looks good.
Great. So I'm going to be going over today Google's Contact Center AI Platform solution, which is an end-to-end contact center as a service solution that provides a unified platform for modernizing call centers. Now, Caleb mentioned earlier on that CCAI, which is what I'll refer to it as, generally in the past was dependent on a partnership with the leading telephony providers across the board. And over the last several years, Google has seen a huge amount of success just partnering with those telephony providers. We've helped a large number of agencies achieve a reduction in average handle time. We've helped a large number of government agencies as well reduce cost in the call center by introducing automation through virtual agents, so that users are able to call in at any point in time and have a virtual agent guide them through a process that's either responding to frequently asked questions or delivering actual transactions. So we've seen just a huge amount of success in that area. Now, over those years where we did this with a large amount of success, though, should I say a couple or more challenges have emerged. And the way that we view this is through the lens of three personas. So first is the constituent. While the constituent now has access to 24/7 service from the call center, and has access to virtual agents in certain instances via chat or on the phone. A lot of the constituents still have the challenge of having to wait for a long time to get to speak to a call center agent. So in order to access services, depending on the channel, if you're anything like me, you're familiar with the experience of having to push pound or zero to have to get to a call center agent. Also, there's challenges around finding the right individual to help respond to a customer query or to a constituent query. And this might be because we need the right language or we need an individual with the right expertise. And that's one lens from which we view this. So yes, we've seen improvements over the last few years, but this challenge continues to be one that constituents need to deal with. Next is all of the challenges that call center agents themselves experience. So if you think about that particular role, this is an individual who's representing an agency of the government and is having to respond to questions. Typically, the information that's required is available across multiple different systems, perhaps the backend systems, CRMs, databases, whatever the case may be. It means that this individual needs to be an expert from day one. Otherwise, their actions can directly impact the way that the government agency is viewed. And then third is the folk who actually run the call center. So the call center managers who are responsible for delivering a service that meets specific quality requirements at a particular cost, responsible for ensuring that quality management is in place, for managing the call center agents. Now, these three personas, Google looks to improve the experience for. If you think about the experience I've just described, whether it's at the front door and having to press zero or pound to get to a call center agent, or speaking with a virtual agent, where typically one of the trends that seems to be emerging is having folk try to push constituents in the direction of a call center agent even when they don't want to, and having a poor experience because perhaps the virtual agent isn't able to understand properly what the user is asking for. Or just having live agents who have to transfer the call from place to place. All of these pain points in the call center impact the way that constituents view their government. So what Google is doing with Contact Center AI Platform is looking to solve each of these pain points. How do we help to reduce the amount of time that constituents spend on the phone? How do we help reduce cost further, even though we've seen absolutely over the last several years, particularly over the pandemic, improvements? How do we handle reducing the amount of time that call center agents take to resolve issues because they're having to search through multiple different backend systems? And on and on. In order to solve these challenges, Google's Contact Center AI integrates Google's AI capabilities with providing telephony, workforce management, so you can schedule your agents, manage agent performance, as well as quality management, so that we can validate the experience using tools like recordings of the conversations. And we provide all of these in one end-to-end uniform platform that is directly integrated with the CRM. I'll start off with a video here that shows what the experience is like. Now, we believe that modern constituents should have an identical experience, whether the conversation is with their airline or bank or with their government. So I'll be showing you a few examples here that are not necessarily public sector specific, but the goal is to show the experience that we're able to create with CCAI Platform or Contact Center AI Platform. I'll let this play now.
AI enables a totally new type of customer engagement experience. A conversational experience, whether it's chat or it's voice, that actually engages and asks the consumer how it can help them. The Contact Center AI platform powers your contact center with mobile-first design, multi-channel experience, AI automation, and more to help deliver more satisfied customers. Let's say Rob needs information on getting his first mortgage, but doesn't know where to start. First, he's connected with a virtual agent.
Hi Rob, welcome to Silverbank. How can I help you today?
I'd like to get some help on a house I'm looking at. I'm not sure what my options are about getting my first mortgage.
Sure, can you tell me what address you are interested in?
Yeah, it's 52 Henry Street.
Got it. Buying a home can be complicated. Let me transfer you to one of our specialists to make it easy.
Google Dialogflow supports intelligent conversational AI. Context and sentiment are analyzed in real time and can be relayed when escalating to live agents.
Hi Rob, my name is Maria. I'm one of our mortgage specialists. I see that you'd like to get a new mortgage. First, let's get some basic information. Could you upload a picture of the house in the app? We're going to look at both the property in question and your ability to qualify for a loan.
Yes, let me grab it outside. Okay, just sent.
Thank you. Got the picture. Based on the information, it looks like you're pre-qualified for a loan.
Yay!
Congratulations. I also see that you qualified for a line of credit to help with any renovations or additions you may want to make.
Well, this will be our first home, and I'm sure there will be some things that we want to modify, but I'm not sure how that works.
As the conversation continues, the case details from the connected touchpoints can be automatically stored in your CRM, including chat transcripts, audio recordings, photos, and files. With this data and Agent Assist, you can reduce agent handle time by providing turn-by-turn guidance on the conversation flow based on customer intent.
A line of credit will enable you to have easy access to liquid account that you can use or not at any point, depending on what you decide to do to the house.
That would be great. Can I also look into adding that on with the mortgage?
Sure, but I will need to validate your identity once more before qualifying you further. I'll send you a notification that will use facial recognition on your phone.
Just got it.
Thanks. Looks like we're good to go. I'll have a loan officer reach out to you about finalizing the paperwork.
Awesome, thank you.
After the call with the agent, a notification regarding the new mortgage application can arrive on the phone, completing the multi-channel customer service experience. We are already partnered with some of the world's leading contact center providers who have delivered amazing things with Google Contact Center AI to many customers. With the addition of the new Contact Center AI platform, CCAI is now able to bring the power of AI to a larger set of customers. This platform has been optimized for Google Chrome Enterprise and built on the Google Cloud Platform to help support enhanced customer and business data security, help reduce downtime, and help increase agent productivity. If you're interested in integrating Google Contact Center AI platform into your business's call center, please visit the website and contact us today.
Great. Okay. Now, what are the core components of CCAI Platform? Let's just go over that quickly. In the row here, CCAI Platform, as you can see, CCAI Platform provides inbound and outbound voice, SMS, and chats, as well as email. This means that we're able to provide agencies a multi-channel or omni-channel experience here, where the user is able to start off on their preferred channel and move between channels at any point while we maintain the context of the conversation. In addition, there's the visual IVR. Now, think of the visual IVR as a representation as a visual representation of the static scripts that are typically available on a traditional call center IVR. Now, not just a representation, but this means that we can simplify this and apply visual attributes to the experience, so that rather than having to click 0 for service 1 and 1 for service 2, or B for service 2 rather, you have a call center experience where the user is scrolling through, much like in an application, and able to select where they'd like to go. In addition, Contact Center AI Platform provides what we refer to as AI-driven routing. This means we're able to make use of the virtual agent to capture the user's utterance, determine what the intent is, and then route the caller appropriately to the right department or directly to the agent that has the expertise that's required to address their need. The platform also provides an agent desktop, and I'll talk about the agent desktop and the fact that it's a CRM focused integration in the same vein here. One of the benefits of Contact Center AI Platform is that we utilize the CRM as the agent desktop. So CCAI Platform supports a large number of the industry's leading CRMs and provides an integration with these CRMs, so that whether the channel is voice or chat or a mobile application, the actual agent desktop is resident in the existing CRM. This means that the call center agents don't need to learn a new technology. There's not a need to take time to ramp up while they learn a separate UI from the existing CRM. And then finally, there's all of our capabilities around simplifying the process for putting a widget on a website. So we provide a web SDK that is really simple to essentially embed on a website, as well as a mobile SDK. So if the goal is to have a mobile application of your own, where we can have these these capabilities from CCAI Platform as part of your mobile application, we provide the SDKs to do that. If you'd rather depend on Google to provide you that SDK to power your contact center, it's available as well. In addition to all of these, we support all of the leading, or well, a large number, I should say, of the leading workforce management solutions across the board. But Google Contact Center AI Platform does provide a workforce management solution that's native to the solution, with quality management coming soon. At the end of this, you can bring your own workforce management solution or your own quality management solutions, and these will integrate seamlessly with Google CCAI Platform. Now, the advent of CCAI Platform means that the current CCAI portfolio has grown to include a virtual agent or Dialogflow, which is a platform for building virtual agents, I should say. Agent Assist, which is all of the capabilities targeted at making call center agents more effective in the work that they do. CCAI Insights, which is the platform for analyzing conversations. So this is the platform for understanding what trends are across the call center, looking at information like sentiment analysis, for example. And now Platform, which is the contact center as a service solution that acts as the glue for all of these capabilities, is completely cloud native, includes telephony, management of call center agents, and all of the AI that Google is known for. Now, why is Contact Center AI Platform different? Well, first of all is the fact that we have this one Google approach where the entire solution is provided by Google. There's not a need to depend on multiple different vendors for a subset of the solution. Google brings our expertise to bear across delivering the end-to-end solution. And this means that as soon as new features are available, you have access to them via the platform. There's also the fact that this solution is easy to use, but going beyond easy to use, it's easy to put in place. setting up CCAI Platform typically requires a bunch of clicks and can be handled in a fairly short period of time. In addition, I mentioned earlier that we can now move away from a siloed experience where multiple different channels are managed by multiple different teams to an environment where constituents are able to interact with agencies on their preferred platform and switch between channels while maintaining context. All of this is powered and driven by Google's industry-leading AI, including speech-to-text, text-to-speech, natural language understanding, translation, and a host of other capabilities. And all of this also takes advantage of Google's capabilities around analytics and helping customers gain insights from the data in the call center. At the end, you get a solution that has the skill and expertise of Google, the same expertise that is available across all of the other products that we have, all of the other solutions that Google provides with billions of users accessing them every day. Now, I mentioned earlier that the goal is to provide the constituents an experience that is identical to what they have when they access the bank, their airlines, or any other commercial services. So typically, we have an experience here where you can get started right away, for example, with topic modeling. We can answer questions like, what are the main calls across the call center? What are the trends we're seeing across the call center? Part of this solution is providing transcripts of calls, for example, and you're able to get started with this almost right away. So if you have a call center already in place, the ability to take every single conversation and provide you a transcript in real time is baked into the solution. We also provide LLM driven or large language model, and I'll be talking about that driven summarization across the board here. At the end of the process, you have a solution that improves the experience at the front door for the constituent, because now we can remove that friction that is typically related to having to wait around to find the right agent or wait around to find the right service. You also get an experience that is improved on the side of the virtual agent, because now all of Google's capabilities around just understanding user intent, responding in a human-like way are available. And then finally, we superpower the live agent, because when the live agent receives the call, we maintain the context that was passed on from the virtual agent. The live agent understands exactly what has transpired until this point. We simplify the process of putting on the live agent's screen responses to questions in real time as they're being spoken. And we also simplify the process of the live agent identifying or validating the identity of the customer, because as you saw in the video, we can take advantage of capabilities on the phone, like fingerprints, using fingerprints as a biometric, or even facial recognition. Okay, now all of this is great, and I've talked a bunch about CCAI Platform, but one of the major benefits that our customers will see from CCAI Platform is the introduction of large language models and generative AI to CCAI. Now, unlike a lot of the other vendors across the board, Google's large language models and generative AI capabilities are native to the Google platform. So as I mentioned earlier, in CCAI, as we introduce these new capabilities, you will very quickly, start to see them surface in all of the products that I've just shown you. Today, we provide 24/7 service to constituents using the virtual agent. We have voice and chat bots, and they're able to integrate handoffs. We're able to integrate the ability to hand these conversations off to a live agent. Well, tomorrow, or I should say, because tomorrow is today now, we will have out-of-the-box info bots, and that's the term that we're using here. We'll have informational bots that you can simply point to any content source and have a large language model ingest and learn that content and then provide responses as well. We will also have, in the area of the call center itself, or I should say today, we have this AI-first contact center as a service solution I've talked about with workforce management. Tomorrow again, which is now today, we will have the entire process of determining the right direction to steer a user to be driven by large language models without having to script or build out pages and flows to guide the experience. How will we help the call center agents themselves, the human agents, be more effective? Well, today we already have Agent Assist, which is surfacing up responses to questions and the answers to frequently asked questions and providing guidance. As we introduce our capabilities around Gen AI and large language models, you'll start to see guidance, step-by-step guidance being provided to call center agents so that even new call center agents on day one can follow a specific process guided by a virtual agent that's powered by large language models. And then when we come to insights or the platform for analyzing conversations, today we already have the ability to do topic modeling and figure out what trends are. In the future, again, and I continue to emphasize that tomorrow is today, you'll have the ability to take all of the transcripts of the conversation and automatically create frequently asked questions or entire transaction paths that constituents can use. And these are the benefits that you see as we introduce large language models to CCAI Platform and Dialogflow today.
Tony, I just want to add in one thing real quick. If you want to go back one slide, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I think it's a really important call out. So with this introduction of the large language model, in the past, if we were going to go roll out, let's say a chat bot interface on a website, that could take months to go train and deploy. Or if we were going to do the same thing on the agent assist side, it might take months to go build the model, get the right FAQ, question answer kind of structure to be able to put in front of an agent. With the ability to use, like what Tony was mentioning, this info bot powered by large language model, this is now being reduced down to weeks at most. So for those that have complex websites, or you have some structured content today from a knowledge base, operating procedures, being able to leverage Google's large language model and add that content on top of it in a very secure model is going to completely accelerate the timeframes that you're talking about now. So just something to really keep in mind when you think about from an ROI and kind of realizing that value really, really quick. So Tony, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, I've talked about large language models. I've mentioned large language models, but what are large language models? If you think about the way that programming has been done for the last several decades, you typically need to define clearly written instructions for a computer to go carry out. And that is the way that developers have worked, over the years. We moved from that to neural networks, where we could provide multiple examples of, for example, what a cat is versus what a dog is to an AI model. And after we provided enough examples and feedback, now the model is able to determine this is a cat versus this is a dog. With large language models, we simply provide a large amount of textual data or documents to an AI model and have it go learn the information that is available in that data. This means that if you're familiar with Dialogflow and the concept of parameters, where we're defining entities and tying them to specific parameters, with a large language model, They can have billions of parameters that help them identify specific kind of information. And this is a great improvement over what we had in the past, because now we have these large language models that are able to understand the context of human communication, have capabilities like generating new content based on the information that's in their training data. And with all of the conversation around Gen AI, large language models also have the ability to be fairly flexible, to provide multiple different responses, and to analyze large amounts of data. So over the last several months, even though these technologies have been available for a long time, there's been a large amount of conversation around these large language models. Now, I will point out that a lot of this innovation started out at Google, and we continue to innovate. There's entire teams working at Google to continue to improve not just the performance of these models, but the safety and the reliability, while taking into consideration avoiding bias and ensuring that the content takes into consideration equity as well. But some of the benefits we see here are that these models have what we refer to as emergent abilities, which means that they have abilities that perhaps were not the intention when they were being trained. So you might train a model to understand one language, and at the end of the process, it's determined that the model is able to understand multiple different languages, and these can be a pro or con. But the point here is that these change how we interact. While in the past, with the platforms for communicating that we provided, while in the past we were dependent on not necessarily scripting, but building out specific patterns to represent a conversation, which we refer to as flows in Dialogflow or CCAI, we can introduce large language models to simplify the process for us. Now, there's been a lot of talk about solutions like Bard and others across the board here that bring these capabilities where you can ask any question, they seemingly can solve a large number of problems for you, they feel really human, and that's all great. But for government agencies and enterprises, there's additional requirements, because it is important for the responses that are generated by these models to be safe. It's important for them to meet specific compliance requirements. It's important that the solutions are provided in a way that's cost effective and that is grounded in your data rather than providing general information. So the requirements that a commercial solution, or should I say a solution that is made available to the user at home for personal purposes, those requirements are different from what is required for government agencies. And this is where Google excels. All of the solutions that Google provides make available to you the knobs that are required to do things like determine if the large language model driven experience with the virtual agent should utilize content only from your corpus of data or from beyond on the internet, for example. We have the ability to run the responses through over 16 different checks for things like violence, sexual content, and all of these other concerns that businesses might have. So what I'll do now is show you a quick example of what the experience is like when we integrate these capabilities into Google CCAI Platform. I will be using an application that was built for a separate use case here. Again, not a public sector use case. But at the end, I will point out all of the capabilities that the large language models in CCAI Platform and Google Dialogflow, which is the underlying platform for building these interfaces, have made available. I'll let this play now.
Chat apps,
yes.
digital assistants, custom search engines, and more. Gen App Builder starts by learning your data so it's customized from the start. All of these previously took weeks or months for a development team to set up. Now you can get a deployable bot within minutes and more time to focus on what makes your app special, not the boring setup code. Let's walk through how I, a developer at Symbol Bikes, can set up my very own chat ordering experience through the Gen App Builder. Let's get started. We start by adding our URL. Now it's time to load a few company-specific data. We have several important documents and internal sources like PDFs, CSVs, and more. It's important our app understands our product catalog, policies, employee guides, and FAQs. Accepting and indexing our info as it is saves us data prep time since we don't need to extract and structure our data. The data is stored in the company's private, protected environment, and Google will only use it with the company's permission. This is achieved through the same identity and access management your admins are using for the rest of Google Cloud for fine-grained control. Now let's really get going. I can pick either a search or conversational chat. For a fully seamless experience, pick both with just a click. Let's go through the chat creation experience today. My bot will try to respond with the knowledge found in my content sources first. For example, answering the store's return policy from our FAQ. If the knowledge base doesn't cover your user's question, we can define what we call generated responses, which leverage the foundation model's generative capabilities across multimodal and multimedia responses. I can use this interface to define granular control in my app, much easier than setting up these rules in my code. Here, for example, I can choose what types of responses to allow, or even set specific terms I do not want to appear. I can also disable generated responses at any time, and my bot can still answer complex questions thanks to Google search technology. In this use case, let's keep it on. A comprehensive bot doesn't just provide information. It can function as its own application by completing transactions and other user-guided tasks. A robust app will have user workflows. For getting ahead on common use cases like check order status or explain bill, pop these pre-built flows into this graph-based interface. I can also use this for my own custom workflows as well, or leverage a prompt-based flow where I can just specify the logic using natural language instructions. Great for collaborating with product management. AI dynamically handles all the potential paths. AI is not only helping the customer, but us too build this out. These sample instructions here help understand the user's intent without having to hard-code a rigid control flow. Now, as we're getting closer to deploying, here we can use out-of-the-box integrations that make it easy for me to launch my bot to my website and popular messaging apps. I can also connect with telephony partners. Let's first take care of integrating this bot into our existing website. Once we're ready to go, the Gen App Builder creates a chat widget code for me. I can share this with our front-end team to quickly integrate into the website. Our multi-turn, multimodal bot is ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take over sharing. I just have one more slide and then we'll round up.
All right, you should be good to go.
Thank you. Okay. So Caleb just showed us a video of the experience of building out a virtual agent using this new LLM and generative AI capabilities that we just described. Now, let's look at what the difference is between the past and where we are today. In the past, in order to build out a virtual agent or to create an experience utilizing conversational AI, we required linguists or conversational architects, essentially folk who are adept at understanding how humans communicate, and we required that expertise to build out the actual virtual agent. In addition, we had to walk through the process of manually building out intents and training phrases and figuring out routes and conversation transitions if you've used the solutions that exist today. At the end, we settled on creating a limited number of use cases just because of the complexity of managing the entire process. And so we would typically adopt an approach where we wouldn't have a solution that was able to handle every single use case across the call center. In addition, we would come across challenges with having the user sometimes depend on a virtual agent and sometimes have to speak to a live agent that created friction in the experience for the constituent. And then finally, there's just a large number of virtual agents or chatbots that have a very low adoption rate because of these challenges. Well, today, as Google introduces large language models and generative AI to the experience, the constituent experience, we now have the ability to just have developers and the folk who actually understand the business logic create these solutions. We can leave the underlying conversational expertise to the large language models, which do very well or excel at that. In addition, rather than a dependency on manual intents and building flows, we can simply point to content or describe a task and have contact center AI ingest that information, become an expert of that information, and have the ability to respond based on that content. In addition, we can move away from the approach where we implemented a limited number of these use cases simply because of the complexity, to allowing constituents essentially go in whatever direction they choose and still have the ability to support them. And now we have this ability to provide a robust understanding of what constituents require that impacts the experience. We can move away from having constituents constantly listen to, "I'm sorry, I'm unable to help you with that," to "welcome to the agency," and have them speak in the same way as they would speak to a human. And finally, we now have the ability to increase to a large extent the adoption of virtual agents or chatbots or even voice bots in the environment. In rounding up, I'd like to say that Contact Center AI Platform provides this end-to-end unified solution that is completely cloud native, driven by Google AI, but helps customers take their existing call centers and modernize them to transform the ways that their constituents communicate with them. And Gen AI helps accelerate that process and puts in the hands of the business user the tools that are required to create the outcomes that they require.